Well, Rob, let's start with the show because as I said, we had a show packed before this terrible news, and we wanted to together to talk a little bit about the Club World Cup because it's going on in the US. Whether you're a fan of it or not a fan of it, you watch it, you don't watch it. There's still big games happening, big things happening, great goals, disappointments, and more happy moments for the team that qualified. The quarterfinals are about to be played as we record this morning. The show it will be later today on Thursday. But we had maybe the biggest shock of all in the last 16 with Manchester City facing AlHilal from Saudi Arabia and AlHilal, now coached by Simone Inzaghi, beating Pep Guardiola and his players 4-3 in what was quite an incredible game, really, overall. First of all, what did you make of the game and of this defeat by Guardiola and City?
Hey, it was an outstanding game, wasn't it? Maybe the game of the tournament so far, the one that just refused to stop. There was a twist and a turn all along the way. City thought they had it won, and as the ball cleared off the line, and a game that had everything as well, and maybe just teaches us that there is a lot of football beyond the shores of Europe, and maybe these Saudi players should be taken seriously, especially the players out there. And you see some of the players that are playing for them as well, and you're, my goodness, he's still going. He's still at the peak of his powers as well. And I think maybe it was a lesson learned for Manchester City. We all know had a dreadful season. They're going through this rebuild in the summer as well. And everybody's thinking, well, maybe yes, Dr. Pepper's cured things here, but it certainly hasn't. And it went back to the ways of maybe 3 or 4 months ago when they were struggling to find their identity in the Premier League.
Yeah, you're right. I think cured is the right word. We saw them against Juventus in the last game of their group stage where they won and played really, really well, both with the ball and to some extent without the ball. And we thought, okay, mate, this is the new City. There's a lot of options. You can play with wingers, you can play with 10s, you can play with a bit of everything. He tried the back three. So there's a lot of things that he tried in this tournament that actually looked like it was working. And then, as you said, we go back to all those, especially defensive mistakes that we saw last season that really, really hindered the season. And then they are back in transition on that Malcolm goal, for example, from City's own corner that you get done by a Cancelo long ball and Malcolm just goes through on his own. Ait Nouri and Reinders can't catch him and he scores. To the imbalance that we saw when they didn't have the ball, the pressing that they're trying that didn't really work out, things like that, which is exactly what they didn't do well last season, the problems from last season. And then you thought, okay, surely you will address those problems and get better. And instead, certainly for now, it's exactly the same issues. Going forward, they will never have any problems. They have too many good players, goal scorers, creative players. So going forward, it will never be a problem. It's defensively, right? That I think we are worried about them.
Yeah, I think I'm married to a Manchester City supporter, so I hear this day and night, especially nights. You wake up in the middle of the night to watch the whole game. And it's very easy to blame the defence and the defenders, but in a previous life I played in goal, and you mentioned there that they broke from the opposition area, and if you were Ederson in goal, you'd never need a pair of binoculars to see your nearest defender. They're defending 10 or 15 yards into the opposing half. The central defenders they do have are not particularly pacey. They're very good players and they're tall players, but Pep seems to be stocked out with central defenders. We can blame the new fullback Ait Nouri, but his attributes are getting forward as well. Yeah. I think the issue is a team issue, isn't it? And maybe something that Pep has to address as well is that you look in the midfield, and if they don't have Rodri in the team, Kovacic is injured at the moment as well. They don't have any ballast. Number sixes, as the kids say these days, halfbacks, as my dad would have said, holding midfield players in another parlance as well. And they don't have anybody in there to have the defensive shape when they're not playing to their strengths, which is attacking. And their weakness at the moment is very much they're defending, and he doesn't have a Busquets about. What would it be if he could find another Rodri or another Busquets or somebody in there to give them an alternative, just so they have somebody who can sit back when everybody else goes flying forward in this Pep Guardiola cavalier style? Yeah,
you're right. So Reinders played as the six in this game, and he did so also in the group stage of the Club World Cup. But as soon as the level goes up, I think as good as he is, and he's definitely not a number 6, but you can probably make him and transform him into a number 6, as you mentioned, or another term that you can use for that position. And that might work. But for now, he's clearly not ready to be the shield in front of your back four, especially when your back four has Ait Nouri on the left and Mateus Nunes on the right, who are two. Well, one is a super attacking left back, as you just said, and that's his game. And the other one was a midfielder, even more than an attacking midfielder that had been transformed into or moved into a right back by Pep for necessity really last season, and that is not really comfortable in that position. So we will talk a little bit more about the defense and about Manchester City in the podcast segment. But just to finish on this TV segment, Rob, just a word on Simone Inzaghi and AlHilal and what a wonderful win this was for them and for him, for Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabian football in general, because as you mentioned at the start of your first answer, it also shows that there's talent and there's level outside of Europe and outside of the Premier League.
Yeah, always that great quote that he came up after the game. We've reached Everest without any oxygen. And he's got the best out of players like Malcolm and Koulibaly. Ruben Neves looks fantastic. Bono, I may argue, is one of the best goalkeepers in the world at the moment. He had an absolutely storming game as well. And he's come in and he's had a matter of weeks, hasn't he, to get used to the players and learn their strengths and their weaknesses. I very much doubt when he was managing in Italy that he was watching the Saudi Arabian League week in, week out. So he wouldn't know what he was getting inherited when he went there as a manager. But this is maybe why he is the highest paid manager in the world, because he's assessed it very quickly. He's tinkered with the style. He's also knows probably Manchester City better than his own players, and he's played to City's weaknesses and found the strengths of his players as well. And it was a statement victory, and it may yet be a statement Club World Cup as well.
Rob, let's stay a little bit with AlHilal, because really I think they deserve a lot of prizes. You mentioned Simone Inzaghi doing an amazing work, considering he's been there 2 minutes, and already you see the improvement with that team. Not that they were not good before; they're still one of the best Saudi leagues in the league with Al Ittihad and Al Nasser. There's no doubt they didn't win the title this season. It was Al Ittihad, but they won it the past 2 years. But you saw already how good they were in this tournament, how good they've been in this tournament, even against Real Madrid in the group stages, where I thought that 1-1 draw was a well-earned draw, and they played really well. And then in this, targeting the City left side in the way they build up, the way they attack with Malcolm and Milinkovic-Savic and Koulibaly and Cancelo all on the AlHilal right-hand side. So hitting that left-hand side for City, even without Mitrovic, who is arguably their best player, who's injured, who's there with them, but injured and hasn't played yet in this tournament. Marcos Leonardo doing a very fine job there after his move from Benfica. So all of this is great for Simone Inzaghi to do. And Milinkovic-Savic after the game saying, listen, this is a good league. We are a really good team. People don't respect us enough, which you touched upon a little bit in your last answer, which I guess is fair. And we saw how good they've been in this tournament. But the Saudi League is not the Premier League either, right?
It's certainly not the Premier League. It's not La Liga. It's not the Bundesliga. With Cristiano Ronaldo, did he say he feels that it's maybe on par with some of the top 5 leagues? I may kind of tease you here and say maybe it's on par with the French league, but we don't go that far. But you look at the players that are in there, and they have quality players, not just at AlHilal, but the other clubs that are in the Saudi league as well. They're taking players over with big pay packets at the peak of their careers, and they're not just packing their flip flops; they're packing their football boots and the shin pads as well. Inzaghi, people were saying, was he getting 50 odd million a year or something like that to go over there? But he's not gone out there and just looked at villas and where he may be living. He's very quickly assessed the team, probably knowing him 24 hours a day, studying the players, studying what he's got, but then studying the opposition, being able to outwit and untie Manchester City as well. And obviously, when they go over there, they're trying to make a big statement. They're trying to put Saudi football on the map. And people do have short memories. You forget that, Saudi and their superb supporters as well made a big impact when they beat Argentina at the last World Cup, didn't they? So, yeah, maybe, if this is the FA Cup or something like that, or the Champions League, these are one of these teams that sneak in under the radar.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that win in the Qatar World Cup. Salem Al-Dosari, who is maybe the best Saudi player right now, the captain of the national team, and AlHilal player who was not there for that game. So even AlHilal beating City without one of their best players or key players. And they obviously, I think the level of the Saudi League could vary a lot depending on what team you're facing. Some teams don't have as much talent, obviously, than AlHilal or Al Ittihad or Al Nasser with Cristiano or Benzema and those kind of guys, which is, to be fair, a bit similar in other top leagues too. But I think this is good for Saudi, for Saudi football, for the Saudi League, to see that AlHilal can draw with Real Madrid, can beat Manchester City in what was an incredible game. Now they face Fluminense in the quarterfinals, a game that they can absolutely win, and then it would be Chelsea or Palmeiras in the potential semi-final if they do that. So even the pathway towards a potential final for AlHilal looks good. If we go back to Man City, And we talked about already the defensive mistakes and fragility that they've had, which is not new and is something that they have to address and get better. We saw Pep Linders on the bench for his first competition really since joining the club, which I think took a lot of people by surprise. Him, the former Jurgen Klopp, number 2, who, arch rivals were City at the time. And yeah, it's a friendly rivalry, but they were still competing against each other for Champions League and Premier League trophies. Now to see him on that City bench, to me, I still need to get used to it. But Pep Linders is all about pressing, right? And counter pressing and have that intensity. And this is surely something that Guardiola wanted by hiring him. And do you think maybe we still need to wait a little bit to see the impact on Pep Linders on these City teams? And maybe what we saw defensively against AlHilal is this team still trying to adapt to the principles of Linders, added to the principles of Guardiola with and without the ball?
Absolutely as well. I mean, these are very, very early days, aren't they? Linders will come in and he will be learning the players and learning the manager. It's a new brains trust at the top of the club. Remember that Bigaristana's gone. Lilo is his trusty assistant, the guy that looks like Kevin Keegan that sits alongside him, that has been his trusty lieutenant for so long as well. So he's lost his director of football. He's lost his number 2. He's lost his captain in De Bruyne. So those that maybe he has around him that he trusts have gone. And then new voices within the club and within the changing room as well. And Pepper's made it very clear that yes, this is a tournament and Manchester City have gone there to win there as well, but he's given the players enough kind of downtime and free time and family time and pal time as well, and he hasn't been kind of drilling them on the training ground as you see in these behind the scenes documentaries as well. And when they do have their rest and their recovery and they get back together again in a few weeks time, I think that is when the Linders will be right, okay, this is it, this is how we bring about the evolution, maybe not the revolution that you've had at other clubs, because you look at Liverpool, they've changed through slot, you look at Barcelona, Flicker's coming with a new way of thinking. We'll talk about Real Madrid in a moment or two as well. And these clubs who have changed in the last 2 or 3 years. And it's clear for Manchester City. And what we've seen over there is that same old, same old. Different players have come in. It's a different kind of look to the team with the names that are in there as well. But it's the same old City when it comes to defending as a team and defending as a unit. You can blame the defenders, but it's much bigger than that. It's the players that are ahead of them as well. And they have to find a style. And they've got the new coach and the new voice on the training ground. And they've got a couple of months to do that before they hit the ground running in the Premier League season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we said a few times last season that I think the old Guardiola style, the one with the slow build-up and the 1,000 passes, if you want, as we saw last season, I think probably reached a limit. You can't say that it's not good anymore. But certainly, I think we saw a lot of really good things from teams in Europe and in the Premier League last season with far more verticality than anything City had done before under Guardiola. And I think this is the evolution they have to gear towards, to more verticality, more intensity in the way they play, instead of, I remember a game, the City Liverpool game at the Etihad last season, where I was at the stadium and you see so much better at the stadium, but there's a ball at some point in transition for Jeremy Doku to go on the left hand side, and he goes forward, and then after the halfway line, he stops, turns around and play the ball back for the ball to be recycled and them to start their build the phase then. And the ground went a bit mad. And I'm like, what? And this is so Guardiola. Put your foot on the ball, start recycling the ball, and we do what we were good at, which is this build-up phase where you move the ball well and you kind of move the opposition's block from right to left and until you'll find some space somewhere and you make the difference that way. But that ball there was for Doku to bump forwards and play in that transitions. But yet, this is not what he was told to do. So he stopped, went back, and they started their thing. And I don't think this is possible anymore if you really want to go far in the Premier League or in the Champions League. So for me, the hiring of Pep Linders is for that. Is for that evolution. And it would take a bit of time, like you said, but it was inevitable that Guardiola had to change something. And that's it. We didn't see much in the Club World Cup, that's for sure. And they will go back now to England. They will give a bit of time off to the players and regroup and go again for the Premier League. They will have a more time now than if they reach the final of this Club World Cup. But what would you say, just to finish on City, what do you expect for them next season, after what we saw last season, after what we've seen in the Club World Cup for the last 2 weeks, let's say, and the signing that they made, the likes of Cherki, the likes of Ait Nouri, Reinders, Pep Linders? Do you expect them to take a bit of time at the beginning of the Premier League season to get going? Do you expect them to be able to compete with Liverpool and Arsenal for the title in the Champions League the same? Or do you think it'll be one of those transition seasons that will maybe see them needed more time to get ready?
I think Pep and the Manchester City supporters and people in England as well, football fans in England, will expect Manchester City to be better than last season. With the players that they've signed, they're excellent young players who are yet to reach the peak of their powers as well. But Pep, as you say, he has to revolutionise as well. I've commentated on Spanish football for a long time, and in the last season of Pep at Barcelona, everything that you were just saying there, Jules, about they kind of get to the edge of the sea and they dip their toe in the water and then they come out again and they go backwards and they start again. That's what we saw at Barca when Pep was there, and then Luis Enrique came in and he had a fantastic evolution and revolution at Barcelona, and it was the same kind of style and they played a different way as well. So I think, Pep Blinders may be the man, maybe the bigger Pep at the club as well, to change things around, to play this more energetic and bring the best out of the young players that have come in with great expectation as well. And it's so important as well that they get Rodri back in the team and they get Kovacic fit again, and they're not relying on the likes of Silva and Gundogan, who are in their autumn years of their career at Manchester City.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be quite fascinating to see what Guardiola and Linders do for this team, and how quickly they're ready and how quickly they can maybe change their style a little bit and see what they do in the Premier League and in the Champions League. And obviously, we will have you covered on the Gab Juls Show with Rob sometimes, of course, to see the evolution of this team.